DeSantis defended his state's performance while pushing back against a reporter's line of questioning.
What has gone wrong with the rollout of the vaccine that we've seen phone lines jammed, websites crashing?
It's a lot of demand. I mean, I think at the end of the day, excuse me.
If I could finish my question.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or you're going to ask a question?
Okay, let's begin there with a lightning round tonight with KTTH Seattle radio talk show host Jason Rantz. Good to see you, Jason.
Hello.
Okay, so an anchor on another station went on to call Governor DeSantis an ASS. I'll spell that in case my grandmother is listening. So the media doesn't like him. Why?
No, they don't. I mean, look, it's two reasons. Number one, it's out of arrogance. DeSantis has not listened to what some of the outlets have pushed, particularly CNN. Look, they were all in on the lockdowns that have closed down the schools and the restaurants and the bars and the gyms, right? And that was embraced by the governors that they're not actually going after, that are dealing with a lot of these problems, like in California, New York, and Michigan. And number two, look, DeSantis is a Republican who is supposed to be attacked. They're not going after the Democrats. That's the big difference in all of this. If you go after Gavin Newsom in California, you don't get invited to the French Laundry. If you go after Andrew Cuomo in New York, you've got Chris Cuomo maybe doing something along the lines of roid rage in the halls of CNN, and no one actually wants to have to deal with that. You can go after DeSantis and go after Florida and what's going on there with the vaccine rollout. I think that just because he's a Republican, it doesn't mean that you don't get to go after him. I just think you have to do it in good faith, and I don't think what's going on right now is being done in good faith because they're only exclusively going after him, and that's wrong.
Well, and we have the difference in New York where Governor Cuomo there is being praised. And that's tough for a lot of people to handle, including my good buddy Janice Dean, who lost both of her in-laws when COVID ripped through their nursing homes after there was an order that they were, COVID positive patients could be sent into nursing homes and they couldn't test them before they came in. She says this: had the governor admitted his terrible decisions instead of making posters, plastic mountains, and coronavirus artwork, many of us would have forgiven him. Had he written condolence cards instead of books about leadership, I probably wouldn't be speaking up on behalf of other grieving families. So why does Cuomo, with a worse record, get not only a pass, but awards, Emmys, book deals?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with a little bit of East Coast bias. You've got a lot of these folks who are praising him who are based there. There's also, again, the Cuomo connection, and they don't want to go after one of their own, or at least someone who's perceived as their own. No one likes to go after their own hometown, their own home state, and this is one of those issues. It is a little bit also just a weird bit of rewarding a rather huge ego. DeSantis, I don't think, comes off as egotistical. Again, DeSantis is not perfect in all of this, but he has pushed back at some of the quote-unquote expert opinion that has been pushed by some of these other networks and outlets, and he is shown to be right in not all the cases, but in a lot of these cases.
Okay, I'm sorry, my fault, because we want this to be lightning round. So let me try to get to two other things quickly with you. I saw you reporting that Governor Inslee has called credit checks, or the use of them, racist, and you found something very interesting in your reporting.
Yes, so he says that credit checks, at least when it comes to insurance rates being decided upon credit checks, it's racist because that has a disproportionate impact on people of color. So I did some digging. It turns out his own administration is hiring on the basis in some jobs on credit checks that look into your history. Why? Because they're not actually racist. It does make sense sometimes to look into credit histories. When people use the disproportionality argument, generally it's lazy. It's more of a nuanced conversation. Jay Inslee is not capable of having nuanced conversations like this. It's just virtue signaling. He's known for it. 2020 was the year of everything is racist, and 2021 is going to be the year of just focusing on equity, which means you're just going to throw out a bunch of progressive buzzwords, and that's all he's doing here. It's very, very easy to get caught up in this kind of hypocrisy when that's all you're doing.
Okay, another controversial topic is that about trans athletes. A British study in the Journal of Medicine says this: we confirm that use of gender-affirming hormones are associated with changes in athletic performance, and demonstrated that the pre-treatment differences between transgender and cisgender women persist beyond the 12-month time requirement currently being proposed for athletic competition by the World Athletics and the IOC, essentially saying people who are not born biologically female but transition still seem to have a physical advantage over women who were born biologically women when they compete against each other. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, look, generations of girls and women fought for the rights to compete in sports, to get fair access to scholarships and competitions, and biological men, on average, are more athletic than biological women. Acknowledging that trans women have a little bit of an unfair advantage over biological women is not offensive. It's not controversial. It's not meant as a slight to transgender women. It's not meant as a green light to make fun of or dismiss the experiences of transgender women. It's just a fact. And we do have to have an honest conversation about this. It's just patently unfair to the girls who are competing. And this idea that gender is simply fluid and we can just wipe our hands of the conversation and move on and pretend that all is well, it's just not true. And there are some nuances, again, to these issues that we do have to embrace. And simply just saying, well, no, it's not, it's settled. It is not. There are some implications to just accepting some of the progressive talking points on these issues, and this is what's happening here.
Yeah. And I think one of the problems with having a conversation is people are now so afraid they're going to use the wrong language or terminology that makes them fearful to even engage in the conversations. All right, Jason Rantz, keep us updated what's going on there in the crazy West Coast. Good to see you.
Thank you, Shannon.
She has pledged to do it. Now, a freshman GOP congresswoman is being warned by D.C. police not to carry her firearm